Grand rises to the kindred spirits and those who are genuinely tapped in with me. Your presence and your engagement is very much appreciated. I just wanted to come on here and make a quick video and share my thoughts and my feelings about certain things in regards to spiritual topics. First and foremost, I'll give a disclaimer. Not that I feel the need to, but just because I want to share, and my intentions is always to make sure that I'm making myself clear, or at least I try to. I'm not a spiritual teacher, and I am not trying to project myself as a spiritual teacher, but I like to share what I learned, what I believe, what I know, and some of the wisdom that I've obtained along the way in my years. So one thing that's been on my mind, or should I say some of the things that's been on my mind as of late in regards to spirituality, is how people who are still under a certain doctrine or are indoctrinated, or those who are in religion, they are heavily coming for those that are spiritual, or even those, more specifically, those that follow African spirituality, or the traditions of the people that are native to certain places, whether that be to North America, the Americas, or Africa, right? But more so specifically Africa. What's frustrating to me is how, a lot of these Western religions, or Abrahamic religions, are Western, in the Western world, and a lot of these monotheistic religions, they stem from African spirituality, right? It comes from spirituality, but people that are still in religion, they tend to want to attack those who lean more towards, or who actively practice African spirituality. So there's a lot of ignorance that's going on, and there's a lot of offenses that's going on and taking place, and people really should slow down, and they should really pump their brakes in regards to it, especially when there's a lot of things that need to be discovered, there's a lot of things that need to be learned and unlearned, and there's a lot of deprogramming that needs to go on for people who practice spirituality, not to shun or try to degrade those, or even make fun of those who are still in religion, just for people who follow religion to turn around and to mock those who are in spirituality, or to disrespect the ancestors and to curse them, or to say that they are wicked or that they are evil. The practices, the African practice, or the ignorance, and those who practice yoga, saying that there's a lot of evil that come from that, and all of this negative energy, all of this distorted and confused, chaotic energy. It's really sad, and it's unfortunate, because we have come a long way, and we are progressing, so ashe to that. But the fact of the matter is, we still have a long way to go, and there's still a lot of us who are still asleep and still ignorant to a lot of things. So people love to unknowingly and unconsciously offend other people when they really don't know any better, and then they make themselves look like fools because they don't know any better, and they speak on things that they know nothing about. When you talk about people who are in religion, it's a lot of programming, and it's a lot of control. And if I'm being honest, this may offend some people. When we talk about religion, it has people controlled and programmed and hypnotized, brainwashed, and indoctrinated in a certain type of way, where it takes away from your self-empowerment, where there's an absolute mind control going on, right? Because it takes the power away from you, and it has you to search and look for power outside of yourself. If you're looking for divine guidance, then that's like a natural thing, especially as melanated people such as ourselves, because we're very spiritual people by nature, right? By default, we're very spiritual people. So naturally, we'll look for guidance from the divine. But, religion doesn't.
Yeah, these are too close together.
Excuse me.
That's not going to work. My production guy will fix that, I'm sure. So, yeah, that's not going to work.
So, religion mostly teaches people to. It teaches to solely lean on an outside source and to look for outside sources. And if you're not careful, you will fall into the mind control or the trap, the trap of solely relying on, something, a source outside of yourself, or some people outside of yourself, to where you don't rely on yourself for resources, or rely on your natural abilities or capabilities. So it also promotes fear, where where people feel as though if they do something, whatever their abilities and their capabilities are, right? Whatever that they do, that someone else gets credit for it, and solely credit for it, where they're not encouraged to appreciate oneself or give oneself gratitude for their accomplishments and their capabilities. And then it also promotes the fear of a hell, and in which, if you're constantly teaching people and promoting a hell in the afterlife, then it makes people fearful to live. If you're scared to live, then you're pretty much living to die, and you're always on the energy and in the mindset that you really can't live, and you really can't step out of your boundaries, and you can't break the barriers and the chains and really be free and have freedom, because you're always scared to fully live. And then it really keeps people, confined to a box and imprisoned in their mind, because they're always thinking about fear of a hell. And then people say, in religion, they talk about how they're choosing hell, or that they already have hell. I don't want to hold the energy or embody the energy or even the mindset of a hell. I would more so prefer to think about ways to cultivate and incorporate good feels and everything that a heaven will look like to me, right? Because religion teaches about this red man with horns, the devil, and then it teaches about hell. So therefore, people are focused on, negative things, and it really is a form of mind control. There's a lot of things that religion teaches, and a lot of that is fear, and a lot of that is disempowerment of the self, where when you teach a person from a baby, to a youngster, their power, and you teach them about their capabilities and using their own resources from their self, that is one of the best ways that you can empower a person, is by teaching them to believe in their own capabilities and their own abilities, instead of solely relying on an outside source and saying, if when good things happen, it's because, God only did it, and I'm not acknowledging my own capabilities. And then when bad things happen, it's because of other people, or it's because of the man in the red suit with the horns. When the man in the red suit, or this energy that has been created and has been inserted in the consciousness, is really a frequency, and not so much, somebody in a red suit with horns. It's some of the people that people are interacting with or coming in contact with, So I'm only talking about this because there's, once again, people, they love to talk about people love to talk about, African spirituality and people who are spiritual in that way. And, you know, in regards to, the African traditions and things, people are so far programmed and indoctrinated and so hypnotized and brainwashed to reject and to hate their own history. It's a lot of ignorance, for example, and I think that's just pretty ridiculous, and it's sad. People, they really reject their own ancestors. They will reject their own mother, father, their grandparents, and their ancestors because of what somebody taught them. If somebody outside of somebody that look like them tell them that the sky is green, they're going to say that the sky is green if somebody that look like them tell them that it's actually blue, right? That's how far gone some people really are. And they will defend that, and then they will stand on that instead of really doing their own research. And then, the whole accountability thing. When people are encouraged to solely rely on an outside source and not encouraged to depend on their own power and capabilities, they're able to be a cop-out, and they're able to use the excuse of their shortcomings and their adversities or their trespasses or wherever they fall short at on an outside person or source, and then they don't have to be accountable for their own life. That's very disempowering, very disempowering. And then people, they do this back and forth about what is wicked or what is evil, and they haven't even done, a lot of the research. And they will defend the very thing that was used to curse their grandparents, their mother, their fathers, and a whole generation of people or their ancestors. And it's just absolutely crazy. It's a generational, or it's like genocide on a race of people, right? It's like literally cursing your own people, and then it makes it hard for people to get ahead. The mind control thing, the submission. Who is controlling you? And if you are in submission, what are you submitting to? Are you submitting to the right thing? Are you submitting to the right people? What's really mind-boggling to me is how, melanated people or people that look like myself, how they go against each other, so easily about stuff that for them to even speak on it or to go against their brother and sister is not benefiting them at all. That's another generational curse, to just easily go against one another or to persecute one another like it's nothing. And they're not even getting anything out of it. Like, it really holds no real value, right? Mind control, brainwashing, hypnotizing. So while I'm sitting here enjoying this California weather, I just wanted to, make a video. I just wanted to share my thoughts and my feelings about that, I think it's ridiculous how people, shun and reject people that look like them and people that want to empower and uplift them with truth, and people will reject the truth just so that they can maintain a lifestyle that in their mind makes them feel like they're really winning. But you know, people that look like them are actually suffering the whole time, which is crazy to me. There was a Asian guy who talked about, he said that, you know, soon the world will see the end of history. I don't believe that the world is going to end anytime soon. You know, some of the ancients and some of the most powerful people in history, they said that the world was going to end and never did. So I don't think that the world's going to end. And when you talk about the second coming of Christ, what I believe is that, you know, like I said in a recent video, we're experiencing a lot of energetic upgrades. With those upgrades comes with the upgrade of consciousness, the raising of consciousness. And when you talk about Christ, they're talking about the Christ character in the Bible. But if you know a little bit deeper about what we're talking about as far as Christ is and what is taught with that, you know, talking about Christ consciousness, a certain level of consciousness, awareness, and an energy or frequency. So, hello, good morning. So when you're talking about, you know, that's the funny thing. You know, he's talking about, he says that he has the highest IQ in the world, this Asian kid. I said, oh yeah, but do you have wisdom? In the back of my mind, I'm like, do you have wisdom, and what do you know as far as spiritually? Is your spiritual eye open? And what is your, you know, what is your spiritual IQ? Saying that, you know, there's going to be the second coming of Jesus the Christ, or the second coming of Christ, simply put. Well, what does that mean? So yeah, it's an energy, it's a consciousness, right? Anyway, I got to get off here. Sending you guys lovely vibes here from the state of California, city of Los Angeles. From my heart to yours, Ashe.